Good morning, humanity! It's June 3rd, 2019, and it is Mondays with Bev and Paul once again. And hi, my name's Paul.
Good morning, I'm Bev.
You are.
I'm Bev. Yeah.
What a day, what a day. How was your weekend?
Good.
Yours was good. Mine was good.
I know yours was good.
Had a wedding.
Yep.
Married off my stepdaughter and her husband, and I officiated, and we had
Wonderful.
medicine wheels and dancing and gongs and
Perfect.
flowers and cake and champagne, and yesterday I couldn't move.
Too much.
Too much. And we also have a little thing for all of you that we found out about Bev Wood over here.
Uh-oh. Mm-hmm.
She's moving out of Tucson.
I am.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Oh, I'm going to Oregon. Not that far away.
Uh-huh. And why?
Because it's time. It's time. And my brother is there.
Right.
And really excited about, just living around some family and everything. But the exciting thing, too, for all of us is that we're going to just continue on.
Yes.
Yeah, just like what we're doing.
We have spent the past 5 years developing the ability to do BioTouch all around the world. And so we're going to test it. We'll still be doing our Monday shows, and we'll be doing our board meetings since Bev's the president of the board, and she can come to the meetings through our Zoom. So it just goes on, and we really want to see how we can expand and hopefully open up a little something up there in Medford. She's going to be in Medford, folks. So if you know anybody up there in the Oregon area, start contacting us because Bev's on her way.
BioTouch is going to be there. I've already got some interest there already. I'm so excited. Yeah.
All right. And the question for today is BioTouch part of the new paradigm in integrative medicine? Great question.
It's time to have that conversation.
And we've based it off of the principles of integrative medicine that goes through a lot of the schools of integrative medicine, especially here at the University of Arizona, here in Tucson, and other integrative medicine schools around the world. Mm-hmm. And we've gone through a bunch of them so far, but we're going to go through number 5 and number 6. Number 5 for the principles. Integrative medicine neither rejects conventional medicine nor accepts alternative therapies uncritically. And number 6, good medicine is based in good science. It is inquiry-driven and open to new paradigms. There's that word, new paradigms.
New paradigms.
So we were wondering, what is inquiry-driven?
I know.
When we first looked it up. So we looked it up. And it's basically inquiry-driven starts by posing questions or problems or hypotheses. Right. So that is one of their first principles. Good medicine is good science, which is inquiry-driven. So the hypothesis, they have a hypothesis, and they're either going to prove it or disprove it.
Right. And that's the thing. It's inquiry-driven. What if and how this and how that. And I guess that's what they term good medicine is good science, because I kind of set it for me like, what is good science, right? I don't know.
Yeah, good science. Well, it's interesting because we've quoted Bruce Lipton, and so good. And I had some friends are visiting, and this one lady was saying that her husband really doesn't like a lot of the foo-foo kind of stuff. And I was like, well, those days are over, really, because medicine is now showing the data. So good science is data-driven.
Right.
Gary Schwartz, that's his big thing. Data-driven. Show me the data. Show me the data instead of show me the money. Well, that's in there sometimes, too.
But a lot.
Show me the data. Mm-hmm. So that is the whole new, we'll call it a paradigm now. They're trying to create a new paradigm. One of the things when I went to that energy medicine conference and they had me speak there, it was explained to me that the old paradigm was having to pick out the little details. So they related it to like a watch. And so when this cog turns this way, why does this one move this way and why does that? And so you want to find out all the little different details. And they called that the old paradigm.
Yeah.
But when I looked at a lot of the research in the new paradigm, I was like, well, it seemed to come up with the same premise. They're still trying to figure out the little details.
I think that's what happens when when you go through a transition. You're still coming from an old school of thought. What do you and I say? We're still pouring new wine into old bottles.
Yeah.
So, but I think that that's part of the change. That we've been programmed to think a certain way, that science is this and data is this, and now there are new paradigms in all of our lives, on every aspect of our lives. It's coming in, and health and healing is a big one. It's huge for all of us.
So we participated in the data-driven part of science. One of the interesting things about that was we really made sure that we weren't going to use that, because we'll talk a little more about how we sort of blow the whole paradigm out of the water, but we weren't going to use the data-driven information to be the reason why BioTouch works.
Right.
Here's why, we know now. But it just helped us understand, and especially for that part of our brain and for those who need the data, it's like it was the language. We have the manual in Japanese, we have it in Spanish, Portuguese, da-da-da-da-da-da. We wanted to have a manual in the language of data. So we just wanted to show, again, remind people of what the data showed. And here was one of them that we did with Gary Schwartz when he had the Human Energy Systems Laboratory. And as you can see, this was based on primary pain. And it says replicated over locations. One of the big things about data-driven research
Yeah.
is, can you replicate your questionnaires over locations? And we did. We had a drug rehab community here in Tucson called Amity. We had a center in California, you can see on the bottom. We had one in Hawaii, one in Arizona. Those numbers next to it are how many people participated in those questions. And, what do we have? 800 people, 700 people?
Yeah.
That's a huge amount of people when you're doing research. And if you'll notice, the dotted line is the solid line is pre-pain area. Everybody up was around the 7.
Interesting.
And you could see this is pre and post session, immediately drop in pain levels. And when you see up here, the P is less than 0.0001 up at the top of the chart there, that is highly significant data number. That means when you have that P there, and those many zeros after the point, that it is not happenstance that you got the data that you did. So that is highly significant data. And so we also did it with feeling cared for, stress reduction, and here's the one with stress. So you can see the solid line again is stress pre-session. And interestingly enough, you have Amity. We have a lot more people that were in this research study.
Right.
Amity had a high level of stress, the drug rehab community, and Hawaii had the least amount of stress.
No, yeah.
Wonder why?
Go figure.
But even with Hawaii, and especially at Amity, there was a huge drop in stress levels pre and post session.
I'm looking at the Amity one, and I've heard you say before, that's almost, people can pass out from that, going from that high to that much of a low.
Yeah.
It just really, whoosh, on your body.
And even when we did it at the high school, the kids felt very much, they became afraid because they were really tired. But even more importantly, this is also because people talk about it reaching the endorphin levels, they actually said, this is a better high than my marijuana.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so the best high they ever got. So interestingly, and again, you've got that P factor less than 0.0001. I mean, again, those are very key elements to the data. So
yes. We do have data.
Yes, we have good science.
Right.
Now, we also went with Dr. Stevenson, and that was a whole different group of people in Texas, and she added blood spot testing, saliva testing, a huge questionnaire they use in medical research, and found the same things.
There you go with that replication.
The replication, pain reduction, stress reduction, feeling more cared for, and the data came up with our stress cycle. We've shown it before. All these things in the upper half of the chart are actually showing you all the stressors in our life, whether it's DNA, genes, pain, relationships, diet, drugs, the environment, and is part of, especially in the Western world, activation of accelerated aging pathways, which creates chronic stress. Chronic stress. And then, I just met a couple yesterday. Had a pain, went to the doctor, they don't know. Well, it could be this, could be that. Could we give you some meds? And then you take the med, then you get another problem. Chronic stress. People are locked into this cycle of chronic stress. She found if you put BioTouch into it, you improve circadian rhythms, cortisol level release, you increase interleukin 12, which you can't take a supplement for yet, and which increases your ability to fight infections and improves your quality of life. And you alleviate all these dementias, cardiovascular disease, on and on and on and on. That's, dealing with, even, what's the word? Preventative healthcare.
Oh, yeah, right.
Before you get the problems.
Well, you know what? When you were talking about, how many times I'm hearing a lot of people saying, oh, I went to my doctor, I'm having all these tests, and they don't know what's wrong with me. So maybe the new paradigm, because I'm going to step out there and say something. I think BioTouch is the new paradigm. And any modality like it because we're saying what all the time? We don't need to know where your liver is or where this is happening. It's time for us to read our own bodies, maybe. And that's what BioTouch can really help us to do, to open us up, to pay attention to. It's not that we're not saying don't go to your doctor if you're under a doctor's care. But,
that's the integrative approach.
That's the integrative approach. Right. And we really support that we totally are part of it. But if you want to start talking about a new paradigm, which hasn't presented itself, we're feeling these new paradigms on the horizon. But they are, like we were saying, we're in a transition and things are still from the old school of thinking in much of the allopathic community. But in the future, what's going to happen? We're getting more and more people who are stepping in and saying, I need to take more responsibility for my own health care. I need to be asking the questions.
Right, because part of what we're finding when I was working in the integrative medicine approach is it still requires people to go to a professional, right. Somebody who's done lots of training, mm-hmm. Somebody who still has the patient-doctor relationship, that we still give our life to somebody who knows more than we do. And so we still live in a little bit of fear, a little bit of, I can't do that. And even some of the data-driven research is based on the more spiritual you are, the better healer you are. And so they're actually feeling, they can now measure energy coming out of your hands and working with auras. I mean, the technology is getting us to the point. That's what's
scary.
Yeah. And so when you start relating that to, what level you are in consciousness or in your life awareness, being that kind of a healer, you've got the dichotomy, you've got the separation again. And what BioTouch is, we're going to read to you in our manual why we feel BioTouch is really on the cutting edge. It's really about the healing technique for the people.
Yes.
And so here, this is from our preface here.
And this is why. Everyone who is capable of understanding how to locate the few points described in this manual is qualified to participate in the healing process. The idea that the body's healing abilities may be affected simply through touching without recourse to religion, potions, social status, or other agents may seem absurd, but results are the criteria by which any method should be judged. And we were just talking about that in our research. But that's part of an old paradigm that if these new thoughts about our own bodies are coming in and streaming into our consciousness, that unless you have hardcore evidence that touch can help. Oh no, it's not. It's not relevant. It doesn't have any place in the healing process.
And so, in that sense, it's hard to get this out to people. We have Eileen here who said, our pharmacist, local pharmacist, she said, agreed, not everything needs a name before you can get better.
Right. Thank you,
That's
Eileen.
a new paradigm. And biotouch,
Yes.
Again, we're part of the integrative dialogue because we work with your doctor. We work with your medical practitioner, your acupuncturist, your massage therapist, all those people that do lots of training. And we go to them because they can work with my body. When I go to my acupuncturist, she knows so much about my body and knows where to put the needles exactly. But with BioTouch, it gives us something we can do immediately without naming it, describing it, worrying about it, and we can do it at home.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
right there.
Everybody is equally effective. Again, we have Rose with her husband who had the stroke. So that's
everyone.
Right. Everyone, regardless of
do
levels. So we always want to make sure that we teach you something. And so today we're going to teach you just the basic greeting. If you just did the greeting, a healing process would start. How long will that take you? If you do it to somebody and they do it to you?
About 30 seconds.
30 whole seconds out of your day.
I think you're worth it.
Can we handle it?
I don't know.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same 2 fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. More than one associate may work with a recipient provided that all of the associates perform the greeting. If the associate or the recipient leaves the session, or if someone who hasn't done the greeting touches either the recipient or the associate, the greeting must be reestablished. Then the session...
Now there's a new paradigm.
Boy, lucky Dad, huh? Got the greeting twice.
There's the new paradigm.
Yeah.
Equally, everyone's effective. You can do it at home. I'm reminded of what Eileen just talked about. You don't always have to have a definition. I used to hang out with this old man who never went to the doctor. He'd look it up. He'd feel out his own problems because he said the one thing he didn't need was a description. Because the minute it was described, now he made it a problem with all the other things that went along with it. Not that sometimes those diagnoses don't help us.
Right.
But then whether we get the diagnosis or not, we know BioTouch can be applied immediately.
And I think I think for me the important thing about as we move forward and integrative medicine really takes hold is that what BioTouch, in the midst of all of that, working with your doctor, it begins a process where we begin to ask ourselves, what should I do? Where should I turn? Should I look it up in a book? Should I go to my doctor? Should I ask a friend? I think that's a great place where BioTouch can help us begin, because we start asking those questions based on how we're trusting. It brings us into that we're able to ask the questions. It's not just blindly going to somebody else. We become our best references.
So we fit into the paradigm model. We fit into all these principles of integrative medicine. And we always like to share with you our next workshop. Our next workshop is on death and dying. Now, this is going to be an awesome workshop. Like somebody said, well, I'm not really sure that's a health condition. Well, it's a life condition. And, it just sort of fits into that whole it is dealing with health and how to help your loved ones through the death and dying process. With speaker, we have John Abraham, Episcopal priest, thanatologist, which is the science. There it is again, the science of death. It's going to be interesting to hear what the science is of that. and author and founder of numerous hospice programs. And back in the 70s was already part of the pioneering of the hospice program.
I'm really excited. Basically because in this whole death and dying, why death and dying? Because again, the quality of that journey is what BioTouch can change for the person who's going through it and for those caring for that person. It changes the whole arena for that to unfold. Yeah,
I've seen it over and over and over. So as we get closer, we'll share with you more experiences we've had with the death and dying.
Right.
So show up 6 o'clock on the fourth Thursday of the month. Otherwise, we'll live stream it. We'll be posting it. We'll send you an email about it. If you want to get on our email list, justtouch.com. Just click on there, and we'll actually send you the first 10 pages, which includes the greeting. So you can get it right away. The other paradigm here is you can get it now. You can practice it now, and you're going to be effective now.
Wow, right now, in
right
this
now.
moment.
And right now, we want to say thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you, Paul. Same to you. And thank you all for joining us this morning. It was wonderful. And as usual,
see
have
you
a
next
good week.
If pain has got you down and you live in town, take a trip down to Pima Street. The people down there are people who care. They will get you back on your feet. Put love into action. Put love into action. If you ever want